And we are back. Welcome to the second half of Dr. Giggles.
Giggles.
We have just watched the second half of Dr. Giggles, although something seems amiss here. Are you wearing different clothes?
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
This is like 2 weeks later. And Tony tried his best to match so as to have continuity.
This is continuity. For those watching on YouTube, you will notice that I am wearing the same clothes.
And I am not. Because
trying to make the movie magic.
Well, my other outfit was really sweaty.
You're just sweating watching the second half of Dr. Giggles.
Yeah. Well, okay. It was a lot colder around here about 2 weeks ago, and it's not as cold as it was. So I said, continuity be damned. Who are we kidding?
We tried to film on a day we were really tired, and we watched the second half of Dr. Giggles, and then we fell asleep.
Tony fell asleep.
Yes, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we rewatched the second half of Dr. Giggles, and what the heck is going on? When we left, we were in the mirror funhouse.
We all went to the mirror maze. Jen went, she's pouting. She's followed by Max, who had cheated on her seconds ago, and Dad followed her.
He assumes that she's at this carnival.
Yeah, so Jen's upset. Max is following. Dad's following. Giggles is following.
Is he just known as Giggles now?
Giggles. Sometimes Gigs. And who else is following? Corrine. Hottie number one. We finally learned her name. It's Corrine.
I did go back and look up all of Hottie 1, Hottie 2, and so characters.
I think they do eventually say Corrine's name, but they never say Hottie number 2's name.
Yeah. And her name, do you know what her name is?
No.
Her name is Normie.
Normie.
That is her name.
Well,
her name is Normie.
Well, that's weirdy.
And I learned that from the cast list on IMDb.
Well, cool. Poor Normie never got named. She will forever be known as Hottie number 2 to me. So we're in the fun house with Corrine, Jen, Max, Dad, and Gigs. There is a fun little chase. So not only are we seeing all the mirrors projected several times, but they're like in an echo chamber, like a literal echo chamber.
Right.
They're like, Jen, Max. I didn't know.
Manny Coto did try to put in some artistic shots in the movie.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I liked that funhouse scene. And then Corrine shows up and she runs into a mirror and her nose starts bleeding. And then who shows up behind her? Dr. Gigs.
With a cartoon-sized Band-Aid.
Cartoon-sized
Strangles
Band-Aid.
her and pins her to the wall.
Doesn't strangle her. He smothers her.
Smothers, yeah.
Yeah, covers her nose and mouth and she's pinned to the wall with this cartoon-sized Band-Aid. And that's when Jen knows that something is wrong.
Yeah, then she's chased out. He's about to kind of grab her and then she falls down a hill.
That was a really cool fall. It was like all nicely bluish backlit and she flails into the air in her stunt. I'm assuming this was a stunt double because they like flung themselves very dramatically down the hill in her cool denim outfit and little booty heels.
Yeah.
It was a cool shot. I liked
it. Into the rookie cop.
Officer Wrights and then the old tiny cop.
Yeah. And she's like, hey, Dr. Giggles is chasing me.
Yeah. Dr. Giggles is trying to get me. And they're like, what? And then we end up back at the police precinct with Jen and Max. And Max lays it all out for the cops. He's like, this might be crazy, but I think it's Dr. Rendell's son.
And they're like, shut up, little Max.
You don't know. But Officer Wright is like, that actually makes sense.
And Officer Wright's, or not Officer Wright's.
Magruder,
yeah. He has a secret and he kind of spills his guts about when he encountered young Dr. Giggles.
Yeah, Giggle Jr.
After Giggles' dad had failed surgery on the mom. It's like this flashback scene. There is an awesome scene that happens here.
Yeah.
Where the young Magruder finds the mom's corpse in the morgue and...
Yeah, the morgue of the police station. He's drinking his Moon Glow. A bottle of Moon Glow.
And he's looking at this dead body on the... what do you call that? On the table?
Slab.
On the slab or whatever.
Yeah, it's the dead body of the mom.
It looks very pregnant. So you're like, I know exactly what's going to go on here.
Yeah, and you hear a little giggle coming from inside of it. And he's like, oh, why is that body laughing?
And that creepy little boy actor with the missing teeth.
Yeah.
Cuts himself out of his mom's belly and pops out all bloody.
Yeah, he's reborn as a 7-year-old, covered in blood and a little scalpel in his hand. He's giggling away, missing teeth.
This scene actually could have been very terrifying, but it was done in a way to where I was just laughing. I was giggling along with
Good, just like the little boy.
But if you think about it, it is kind of creepy in theory.
It is, because the body's laughing, but it's completely dead, obviously. And then you see the pushing of the skin from inside. You're like, oh, it's going to pop out. It's like Alien, when the alien pops out.
Yeah.
And a little scalpel comes out and slices the body down the middle, and then little hands.
It could have been a lot creepier.
The thing is, okay, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but I think they had to rein it in a lot for the ratings board.
Right.
So they had to use a lot of shadow play on the wall to kind of insinuate what was happening. And they couldn't really show this body being ripped apart continuously.
Yeah. And the body looks like an obvious dummy, although it was done very well.
Yeah, I thought the skin looked pretty good. It looked dewy.
Yeah. It was just shot in a way that it was more of a comic booky, and we'll talk about a little later. Then everyone just kind of goes home or something after that.
Everyone goes home.
Like Jen, she has to have an emergency operation, so her actual doctor is there at the police station.
Yeah.
Some of that gets a little confusing.
He's like, "Come on, Jen, it's time for your heart surgery now." She's like, "Okay." So she goes off with that doctor, and he kind of semi-sedates her to get her ready.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's really just trying to get this damn heart operation the entire time, and keeps getting thwarted.
Keeps getting thwarted because she keeps getting kidnapped or attacked.
And Dad just goes home. I don't think he saw anything in the funhouse. So he's just like, where is everybody?
He's like, Jen wasn't there. I'm going to go home. Where's Tamara? Where's my new hot wife? Can't find her.
Yeah. But Dr. Giggles is at their house.
And I love this scene. He plays the dad plays the little voicemail machine. And it's like, "Hi, this is your new doctor. I'm standing right behind you." The dad's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah. And then Dr. Giggles gets him with the bone saw.
The bone saw gets him in the gut.
But Officer Magruder is also there, probably because he now realizes what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he goes to the house, because Dr. Giggles is targeting Jen.
He's got those cop instincts.
Yeah. So he's there on a hunch.
Yeah.
And he also encounters Dr. Giggles.
He gets scalpeled in the back of his neck.
Yeah.
And he turns around and is about to die, then gets one good shot off and shoots Giggles in the side.
Which leads us to the next really cool scene of the second half, which is Dr. Giggles performing surgery on himself.
Yep.
You have this sort of view of the mirrors, and you see Dr. Giggles, and he's there in his surgeon's whatever you call it.
He's
his outfit.
half surgeon, half patient, half disrobed and half wearing his surgeon garb.
And he's handing himself the scalpel. And
but he's actually telling himself, scalpel.
This was a pretty good scene. Loved this scene. It was great.
And he's also giggling in pain as he's doing it. He's like, he says "Oh, that's smarts."
So that was great. So if anything, if the movie ended right after that scene, I'd be content.
Applause. Yes.
But it doesn't. It keeps going.
Keeps going.
And then so Dr. Giggles,
he successfully gets the slug out of his side and sews himself back up. He's good as new.
And somehow he ends up back at the police station. He's trying to get to Jen now because he realizes that Jen has heart problems, and it's all connecting back to his past.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm gonna make you proud, Dad, and so I need to get Jen with heart problems and fix her heart."
Right. So he is trying to do a good service.
He is. He's trying to help her.
Yeah.
So he makes his way into her doctor's office, and then we get another really cool Doctor Duel
battle, yeah.
The Doctor Duel battle.
And Dr. Giggles has his reflex thing. What do you call it?
Reflex
hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, and he beats the other doctor with it.
They're actually dueling as if they're swords.
They are dueling. I don't know what the real doctor's battling with. He's battling with a piece.
He pulls out a shiv out of his bed. It's I don't know what that is. Is that an actual medical instrument?
No,
I don't know.
It's he ripped a pole off of the bed. That guy's strong. I was impressed by that doctor. And so he's battling with just whatever he has. Meanwhile, Dr. Giggles is battling with his cartoonish tools.
And wins.
And he wins.
But he does get shanked in the knee.
He gets shanked in the knee with some medical scissors.
Yeah.
But then Dr. Giggles does have an arm or a blood pressure cuff and puts that around the real doctor's neck.
Yeah.
And
That was a pretty
strangles him.
cool scene too.
Yeah.
The sort of like eviscerated face.
Oh, yeah.
Where all the blood is
And
kind
all
of
the veins.
out of his face and his face is white. I thought that was really off-putting, but
Yeah.
really weird effect.
So real doctor dies. And then he doses Jen up with some sedatives.
The green stuff
The
that
night-night
he used
juice.
on
Trotter.
Trotter at the beginning, but it's not as strong of a reaction because Trotter just ended up puking out all of his own guts.
Yeah. He
But-
like melted from the inside out.
Yeah.
But Jen just went night-night.
She just went sleepy time.
Smaller dose. Yeah.
Smaller dose, that's right.
And then he carries her in a Frankenstein's monster kind of a way.
Right.
He like carries her limp body to his castle, aka his Rendell home.
And this whole time we have this like really great orchestral soundtrack, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
And we
as
do
well.
have some like nice foggy mood lighting in the background.
They're doing a lot of creative stuff with Dr.
Very
Giggles.
creative.
It's not just your straightforward slasher. This is
Yeah.
a sophisticated slasher from 1992.
Yes, this is high art horror.
So they end up back at the Rendell house.
And Giggles is trying to perform that heart transplant for Jen. Wright is like at Jen's house and he finds his dead partner cop and he also finds Jen's dad on the ground. And that's when Wright is like, I gotta go to that Rendell
And the
house.
dad's still alive. He's like, Doctor. He's like, you need a doctor? No, it's the doctor.
He's like, a doctor did this.
Doctor. Now we know that this is the son of Dr. Rendell.
Yeah, aka Dr. Giggles. And Wright shows up just as Giggles defibrillates Jen and she flatlines.
Right.
And you're like, oh no.
You're just like, oh shit.
So Wright chases Dr. Giggles off and then is able to resuscitate Jen.
Yeah.
She's like flatlining on the
Saves
table.
her life. What
Saves
a
her
valiant
life.
officer.
Yeah, and then Max shows up after he's already resuscitated her. He's like, I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
Too late, Max.
And in Dr. Giggles' lair, we also see all of Dr. Giggles' victims with their hearts ripped out of their
Yes,
chests.
this was really sad for me because
Because you were hoping that Lee survived.
We see the butthead couple, they're dead. We see Trotter, he's dead. We also see Lee, who is dead. I'm like, dang it. There goes my wild card prediction.
Oh, man.
I was really sad about that.
Now we have this final act showdown in Dr. Giggles' lair.
Max, Jen, and Wright are trying to get out of this weird lair, and Dr. Giggles shows up, and Wright bravely leads Dr. Giggles away from the teenagers.
He is sacrificing himself to save Jen and Max.
Yeah, he's like, come and get me. And then he leads
He puts
him
up a
away.
valiant effort. He almost makes it.
He does. He actually gets him in a chokehold with some chains.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, go Wrights, go. Fire breaks out. And that's when Giggles gets Wrights with like a bone saw in the gut.
And then the house blows up.
Not before Jen and Max,
They get out the last
they
minute. So
stumble
it's
outside.
the ultimate action cliche and happened a lot in the 90s where someone's running out of a door as it's exploding.
So they get out, but unfortunately, Wrights and Giggles are inside the blown up building.
Is
So
it the end of Giggles?
They're
I
done.
don't know.
They're obviously done because the house blew up.
Obvious, yes. Just as Michael Myers was in a hospital explosion.
Yeah, he's dead. Done.
End of movie. Now
Credits.
we have a movie about masks.
Now we have a movie about Jen getting her heart surgery finally. She's finally in another hospital getting her real heart surgery
With a real doctor.
with a real surgeon.
who's not the creepy family doctor that is just available at a moment's notice.
No, this doctor looks legit. He has the tape on his glasses so his glasses don't fall off during surgery. I liked that attention to detail.
Yes.
He half sedates Jen and then burn blistered Giggles shows up with his Mary Poppins bag.
Still
giggling, but full of more blisters and scars.
Yep.
Looking pretty bad. He shows up with his Mary Poppins bag full of his customized tools.
These are just absolutely cartoonish. I don't even know if you can call them medical tools.
No.
They're just like sharp items that are plated in chrome.
They're just a bunch of butcher knives with some needles.
He pulls out like 4 or 5 of them. And
Each one bigger than the last one. And they're all coming from his little medical bag.
And the doctor's just standing there watching him like, interesting. Oh,
It's
cool.
kind of like when a clown shows up to a birthday party. You think I should walk away or run away, but you don't, because you're like, what else does he have in that bag? I'm really curious. Like, how is this bag supporting all of these giant tools?
It's definitely a Mary Poppins bag.
Yeah. And then curiosity killed the surgeon. He gets it with like the last one.
Yeah, he gets like stabbed in the face with a 4-pronged thing that has springs on it.
Yeah.
And it retracts and you see his bloody glasses and they're broken and they're stuck to the... That was also a cool moment.
Yeah. And then poor half sedated Jen like hobbles off her table and scampers over to some medical supply closet, tries to lock the door. Giggles shows up. But even though she's half sedated, she does have the wherewithal to grab like 2 giant jugs of, I don't know, chemicals.
Yeah,
she
some sort of liquid.
them at Dr. Giggles' feet.
Yeah.
And then defibrillates the floor and he gets electrocuted. And you're like, he's done. She got him. Man, she's like pint size and she's half sedated and she did it.
But Giggles is hardy. So
He's hardy. He's still going. But then she grabs 2 of his giant cartoonish weapons. She looks straight at the camera and she's like, take 2 and call me in the morning. Stabs him in the chest.
Oh, the one-liners in this movie. They're all pretty funny.
So good. Nice.
And Giggles then breaks fourth wall, looks directly into the camera and says, is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah,
and
I
then
loved
dies.
it. I loved his delivery. It was very like drooly and wide-eyed. He's like, is there a doctor?
And now Jen finally gets to have her heart surgery.
She finally, for like the 5th time, gets to have her heart surgery. And
after going through all that, it's like, did she really need it? Her heart survived a lot.
it seemed pretty good. I feel like a second opinion was in order here. Dr. Giggles got that correct.
And we find out that Dad's still alive. And despite Max blatantly cheating on her, she makes out with him. The end credits.
Yeah, but you know what? He made out with somebody who's now dead, so he's not going to do it again.
And he tried to save her. So he's got kudos on that
Redeemed?
aspect. And they're in high school. So.
Yeah. So
and they're probably going to end it before she goes off to college. You know.
She's practical about this. She knows this is not a lifetime relationship.
But I do like the very last shot of the movie is of her heart monitor and it's beating normally. And then when they start making out, it flutters.
It flutters. She likes him, at least. Yeah.
Let's get right into predictions and see how we did. I feel like we did okay here.
You know, you win some, you lose some.
What were your predictions for Dr. Giggles?
Prediction number 1 was that hottie number 1, aka Corinne, will die in the mirror maze.
I think that was the most obvious prediction probably ever on this podcast.
Yeah. And I got a point. Full point, right?
Good job.
Thank you. Number 2, Dr. Giggles will try to save Jen by taking out hottie number 2's heart and attempting to transplant it into Jen.
Yeah. I mean, that did happen. There were other victims as well whose heart he had.
However, he did not take out hottie number 2's heart. And she did not die.
Oh, Hottie 2. Oh, Hottie 1. Why'd you do number 2?
I don't know, aka Normie. So that was like...
You thought she was going to have her big scene because she had none in the first half?
Her big scene. Her big scene was narking on Max.
Honestly, I don't know what happened to her. She just kind of disappeared from the film.
She's still at the carnival. She's on the Ferris wheel looking for a date. Poor
She's going to
Normie.
find out tomorrow that all of her friends have died.
Except for Jen and Max. She's like, oh, good. Now they'll get closer. That's the sequel.
And then she's going to tag along with them. She's going to try to be the third wheel.
Dang it, Normie. Get a life.
All right. Well, I think that's a half a point.
Half a point?
Yeah,
Nice.
because you kind of got the setup, but you just mistook number 1 for number 2.
I just left out hottie number 2 completely.
And honestly, hottie number 1 and hottie number 2 in a way are interchangeable. Yeah.
Same person.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Half point. I'll take it. Number 3. Max will die trying to save Jen, thus redeeming his skeeziness. No.
Nope.
Zero.
His skeeziness is just redeemed.
It's just there.
For no apparent reason, just because he survives.
Say it's redeemed. It's just there and she accepts it.
She accepts it. Okay. Well, good job, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Jen.
Yeah. Accepting of a cheater.
I will say not good job, Jen, but okay, fine, Jen.
was going to say she has an open mind. Maybe
No.
she is.
I will say she's in high school and therefore probably doesn't care as much right now.
I was going to say
Which
maybe
is
she, what do you call it? Maybe she's not into monogamy.
So she's
like,
polyamorous.
right. She's like one of those.
Well, then why was she so upset?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So no, not good job, Jen. I will only give you the fact that you are in high school and you know that this is not going to last anyway. Okay.
Sorry, that's my little giggle.
Number 4. Jen and Dad and Dr. Giggles will be the survivors.
Almost. That's 2/3
2/3 of a point.
Dr. Giggles did not survive, or
Did not.
did he? I mean, they never did a sequel.
They never did a sequel.
And honestly, as hardy as he was, surviving a house blast and
Electrocution.
what else? Electrocution, yeah.
And a double stab from
He was
his
shot.
own surgical instruments.
Right.
I think he's dead.
All right. He's probably dead.
Yes, I will
that's
say-
good for 2/3 of a
Thank you.
point. Yeah.
2/3. Dad did come back at the end. He said, "Hey, sport." And that was his big ending line. And number 5, my wild card. Lee, Trotter's girlfriend, is still alive, but trapped in the house as
Wow.
a test subject.
Wow. What a wild card there.
She was trapped in the house and she was a patient, but she was dead.
Yeah.
Definitely dead. So 0 for that one.
Wow. What a wild card.
Yeah. I did add these together. I have a total of 2 1/6 of a point.
Wait, how do you get 2 1/6?
Because I got half a point for Dr. Giggles trying to save Jen with hottie number 2's heart.
Mm-hmm.
So that was half a point. And then I got 2/3 of a point for Jen, Dad, and Dr. Giggles being the survivors.
Oh, okay.
And then I tried to do my fractions math where I think it's,
I'm just going to trust that that's correct math.
yeah. And then I got a point from the first one because the hottie number 1 died in the mirror maze. So
Yeah.
1 plus half plus 2/3, I think, is 2 1/6 of
All
a
right.
point.
2 1/6. So if I get 2, you will beat me by 1/6 of a point.
Yeah.
So let's see what I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
All right. Good job. 2 1/6.
Thank you.
My number 1 prediction was that hottie number 1 will get it in the fun house with a scalpel slashed in a stealthy type way.
Oh.
So most of that was true. She did get it in the fun house and she was killed in a stealthy type way, but not with the scalpel. It was with a giant Band-Aid.
Giant Band-Aid.
And I even said that.
You did at one point.
But it was kind of rattling off like, what else could it be? Maybe
Yeah.
a Band-Aid? Maybe one of those.
Reflex
I actually
hammers?
guessed all of the weapons.
Yeah.
Just rambling off what weapons. I should have just stuck with that.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, I mean, how many points is that? Is that 2/3?
2/3? 2/3.
Are we going to tie?
We might tie.
Okay, number 2 prediction. They will find Jen's actual doctor dead in his office. He did die, but not
They didn't
in
find him.
his office.
He died more bravely than that.
Is that good for half a point? Because the actual doctor did die.
He did die. They didn't stumble. Yeah, let's do half a point.
All right. So right now I'm at 1 1/6. Ooh, interesting. Going by your math, because you
Yeah.
said, okay,
Pretty
anyways.
sure that's the same.
I'm just
2/3
assuming. I don't know
plus
if I did the
1/2.
actual math.
Let us know, guys.
Okay, number 3, Max is drugged and Dr. Giggles removes his heart to give to Jen. Close-ish, but no, that didn't happen. Max survived.
Yeah.
Jen was drugged, and all of the other corpses of people had their heart removed. So I will not give myself a point for that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's about as close to a point as you can get without getting any points or half points.
Yeah, because you're like, Max was drugged and then
was
dies.
wrong, yeah.
Totally wrong.
Someone was drugged and Max kind of was there.
That's as correct as me saying that Lee was trapped in Dr. Rendell's house as a test subject. She was there, but she was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, Putt's dad survives. Yes.
There you go.
Repairs his relationship with his daughter.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you can assume that.
He
They
called
don't-
her sport.
Oh, yeah, there you
that
go,
means
yeah.
that it's repaired.
All right.
You
Good
don't
job,
call
Putt's
anyone
dad.
sport in the 90s unless you're on good terms.
Okay. My number 5 wild card is that Dr. Giggles captures Jen, takes her back to the old Rendell house to save her with open heart surgery. He has another fresh heart right before he is about to scalpel her chest.
Very detailed.
He gets blasted by old cool cop guy. Damn it.
Oh, man.
That was perfect up until that last line.
Wow. And not even like it, not even right. You said the old cop guy.
I feel like that's 5/6 of a point. That was a lot of parts.
Let me see this.
So it's probably like 2 3/5 of a point.
2 3/5?
I don't know why this has gotten so complicated.
It's insanely complicated. Okay, well, I'm going to actually say that's 7. Blasted by old cop.
So that's 5/7 instead of 4/5. Looks like after doing some very complex fraction counting, I am the winner of today's episode
Tony
by
prevails.
5/7 of a fraction. That just has me giggling in excitement because I never win. I never win.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'll take it. I'll take it.
That is almost a full point. So if you round that up.
Our predictions seem like we kind of had it figured out what was going to happen. Some of the details were mixed up, and but I feel like we could kind of see where this movie was going. There were no big twists or anything.
No big twists. No big wild cards happening like Lee coming back and being best friends with Jen. Nope, that didn't happen.
But it was still a fun movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did you think of Dr. Giggles?
I am so thrilled to have finally seen this 30 years after I first wanted to see it.
Yeah. So let's hear some of your thoughts that you had while watching.
Yeah. And I think I said this before. My initial thought was that Dr. Giggles would be a dentist, and he wasn't.
I thought that too. Yeah.
I don't know why we thought that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because we associated giggling with the nitrous oxide.
Maybe that's what it was.
That is often used in old-timey dentist practices.
Yeah. There are a couple other, or there is another horror series called The Dentist.
I think that came out later, though.
I think it also might be like a Full Moon production thing. So maybe this was riding the coattails of Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say success because I don't think Dr. Giggles had much success, but I do always remember it in the video store.
I definitely remember the poster in the video store, and I remember the preview. And apparently I half remembered one of the death scenes, which was poor Tamara's death scene where her stomach was pumped after she ate a gallon of ice cream, sobbing.
Maybe you tuned in and it was on cable or something and you watched that scene.
I had just seen that scene because I do remember her having this tube down her throat and the creamy melted ice cream coming up into the bowl and then the ice cream swirling into red. I remember that.
But the scene right after that is in the band room. It's like the high school makeout orgy.
I definitely don't remember
where
that.
Corrine is like giving a BJ to the saxophone.
Yeah.
And I remember asking like, did you see that scene? Because I feel like that would have been memorable for me as a kid seeing that.
I think I would have remembered that too, but no, I just remember the ice cream. Maybe my parents saw and they're like, oh, that's enough. Change that channel.
Change that. And speaking of that scene was done by Greg Nicotero. So
that scene was?
Yeah. So we own the Blu-ray of Dr. Giggles. I think we had mentioned that in the first half. And it was recently released by Shout Factory.
Yeah.
And in one of the featurettes that talks about how K&B did the effects and Greg Nicotero worked on a lot of the effects. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember them saying that he did that morgue scene or the body scene being cut open by the boy.
The full cadaver. Yeah. And it looked really good. I think it was just shot in a weird way. It could have been better. For 92, that was top notch.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I bet you they were restricted by the ratings boards.
Yeah.
And they had to keep changing stuff. So Manny Coto in one of the featurettes was saying that they actually did shoot everything, but they had to keep cutting away and showing expressions of like Dr. Giggles or something else.
Yeah.
In order to have it pass for an R rating, but they kept getting an X. And I guess he was saying that at that time, horror was experiencing kind of like a downslide.
Definitely in the early 90s.
Yeah. And that makes sense because I do remember a lot of my favorite thrillers are from that time period.
Right. So the early 90s was the rise of the thriller and the erotic thriller.
Yeah. So like 92 was the same year as The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I love that one. Single White Female, another great one. Basic Instinct.
Right.
Yeah. Good Son came out the next year after.
Okay, so I'm just still in early 90s.
Yeah, and The Crush with Alicia Silverstone, that was 93 also, I think. So a lot of really good thrillers, but not so many horror movies or slashers.
Yeah, definitely not slashers. I feel like slashers had seen their heyday in the 80s.
Yeah, and then they had a resurgence in 96 with Scream.
But I agree with you. I did really enjoy this one. It was just kind of cartoonish.
Yeah.
But enjoyably cartoonish. And the characters, the actors that they got for the movie actually all did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely had your typical slasher cliches of like dumb teenagers and kind of goofy 90s style. But I think that for what it was, everyone did a pretty good job.
I thought so too. I really enjoyed everybody and most elements in this movie.
Yeah.
With the exception of Hottie number 2. Didn't get to know her that well.
Hottie number 2.
I feel bad. I'm sorry, Normie. But
Normie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the score, and there were a lot of creative kills. I think the cartoony weapons was kind of...
It was
I don't
part
know.
of it.
It's part of it. For me, it wasn't one of the strong points, but I accepted it because when I was watching Dr. Giggles, I thought to myself, this seems like a comic book or like it could be a cartoon.
Yeah.
So it definitely had that vibe to it where you allow yourself to look over stuff because of how outlandish it is.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Leprechaun, which came out in 93. It was as cartoonish and fantastical as Leprechaun was. So even though Dr. Giggles is a, fake doctor and fake doctors are not necessarily magical, this one was.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite scary. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Is it a horror comedy on purpose?
I kind of, something that I read online, maybe it was on IMDb Tidbits or something, but it said that it often gets lumped into lists of movies that are funny by mistake or a movie that is unintentionally funny. And Manny Coto was saying, no, it was intentionally funny. So I think he resents that lumping into that kind of list.
I think I think with the subject matter, you kind of have to not take it so seriously.
You can't have a movie where the character is saying a pun every other line and not have intentional humor. Right.
And I was kind of thinking to myself too, that this was definitely in the vein of the later Nightmare on Elm Street films, where every time there was a kill, Freddy has some sort of funny pun.
Some witticism.
Yeah.
Welcome to Primetime Bitch. Smash into a TV.
Well, I'm thinking of like Freddy's Dead, where he's, like playing Super Nintendo and killing his victims.
Oh,
and that way. Like the kills get more and more ridiculous.
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead came out in 91. This came out in 92. That's where I think horror was at this point. It couldn't take itself super seriously. So it did have to have a little bit of comedy and a little bit of this like cartoonish nature for it to work.
Yeah.
And the early 90s are just kind of like that anyways. I feel like all the movies of the early 90s were cartoons essentially.
Yeah. And it's not even, I wouldn't call this a horror comedy. I would call it more like cartoonish horror or
exactly.
Yeah. Silly horror.
Silly horror. Yeah. But it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Great score. Gets kudos for me for creativity. And some of these shots that they used were actually really nice, beautiful shots.
Yeah. Like when they're on that Ferris wheel, it was really pretty. When she's falling down that hill, love that shot.
The self-surgery scene, that was also pretty good.
One.
Any other Dr. Giggles tidbits? Because like I said, we do own the physical media. And as we like to say,
if you have the means of watching physical media, then go get it.
Yeah, because there's so many fun bonus features.
Yeah. Or you can just listen to podcasts that tell you tidbits and then done and done.
But in the featurette, Manny Coto does talk about how he was pleased that he was able to get so many good actors, and he got Brian May, who is not the guy from Queen, but the guy who did the score for Mad Max to do the orchestral score. He was saying that he wanted Dr. Giggles to feel like it was an old Universal horror movie, like a Frankenstein or something like that. And I can definitely see that influence in some of the shot choices, like the one you were talking about, where it's like at night and there's this big tree and it's all blue saturated.
Yeah, like the melodramatic lighting with the score in the background. I feel like it did add a quality. And just the character of Dr. Giggles himself did have a kind of monster feel.
Right.
Like a maniacal Frankenstein's monster.
Right.
Kind of like if you take Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, you get Dr. Giggles.
Or what about like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Like something like that. Definitely, yeah, you could see those references. And then I was also thinking to myself that it seemed like a cartoon or a comic book. And Manny Coto did talk about how he was really into comics at the time. And he actually did write a prequel comic for Dr. Giggles that came out through Dark Horse.
So not actual filmed comics.
It's just a comic, like
Just
a
comic.
Like a drawn out comic book.
Dang, so we did not actually get a movie installment of the Dr. Giggles prequel.
No.
Dang it. That would have been cool.
We talked a little bit about the effects done by K&B, who were big at the time, but a lot of the effects, such as the scene where the camera is looking through the mouth of the nosy neighbor character, that mouth prosthetic was made by Greg Nicotero.
And just want to do a shout out to the nosy neighbor. She was one of my favorite characters, not in The Mask. Yes, she was in The Mask because she was the nosy neighbor in The Mask. But she was also the really cool nurse in The Exorcist 3.
Oh, yes.
I loved her in that movie. She was just kind of this like no nonsense nurse that was kind of abrasive and flirty with the detective Kinderman. And I was like, I like her.
She wasn't flirty in this one. Definitely abrasive.
Definitely not flirty. I did like her dog, Erica. That was a good relationship. Nosy neighbor and Erica.
One of the highlights of Dr. Giggles is Erica.
So good. Erica.
A lot of really interesting stuff that went into this movie. For early 90s horror, it stands out.
I imagine that if I had seen this around the same time that I had seen Leprechaun when I was like 7 or 8, this would have been one of my Leprechaun type movies.
Oh, definitely. It kind of was without even having seen it.
Yeah.
Like we had both remembered it for all these years without having actually seen it.
Just based off the poster. And it did not disappoint. This was one of my favorite movies that I had never seen.
Yeah. So very glad that this got re-released recently because it was quite hard to find unless you had a VHS copy.
Now versus then, we do this for movies that are older than 10 years. Would you call this a pumpkin, Twinkie, or wine? Pumpkin being it was only good at the time. Twinkie being it's just as good now as it was back then. Or is it a wine that has gotten better with age?
How do I know if it's gotten better with age if I've just seen it now?
Well, you have to assume. How was it back then versus how it is now?
Okay, so I guess I'm going to assume that in 92 it didn't do too well, but it has grown a cult following. So maybe it is a movie that has aged like wine.
I think so as well. I call it a wine because I feel like at the time, even though I would have really enjoyed it, I have not heard many people talk about Dr. Giggles that saw it back then. I feel like it's like a wine. It's like gotten better with age.
Right. And if you want to check it out, it is free on Tubi and Roku channel, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's get into our award ceremony.
Wait,
so this is...
I have questions for Tony that I am springing upon him.
All right.
Okay. This is called the Jennifer Campbell versus Sidney Prescott.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did notice that Holly Marie Combs
one of the stars of Charmed
have a likeness to Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
I think even down to her wardrobe.
Yes, down to her denim wardrobe. Yeah, so Holly Marie Combs, who I knew from the show Charmed, she was like the sarcastic but very practical sister in Charmed. Whereas Alyssa Milano was like the free wild child, and the Shannon Doherty was the more serious and then later replaced by Rose McGowan.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That was my like stay home sick from school, watch some reruns of Charmed show thing. Anyway, Jennifer Campbell, who was Holly Marie Combs in Dr. Giggles, versus Sidney Prescott, who had the best jeans, and jeans as in denim. Who wore denim best?
Sydney?
I
don't know. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I remember the jeans that Sidney Prescott wore. I don't know if that's a detail that I was paying attention to.
Well, Sydney had a denim jacket and I think black pants when she was at the Stu Macher party at the end. And she was like, oh, here's my jacket.
I'm just going with Sydney.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with Jennifer Campbell on this one because she had her denim high-waisted but kind of baggy 90s jeans and along with her denim jacket. I just love the way her denim outfit looked when she flung herself down that hill.
All right. Denim is good for flinging down a hill.
So you are saying Sydney and I'm going to say Jennifer. Next one. Best dramatic fall. We have Jennifer's fall down the hill versus Sydney's fall out of the window onto a boat.
I don't know if I can remember that clearly either.
What? She's in the bedroom and she's being chased by Ghostface.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it, but not in such detail where I could. I'm gonna go with Sydney.
Okay, so you're going with Sydney.
Yeah, although they were both pretty good.
They were. I'm actually going to go with Jennifer's fall on this one.
I see a trend going on here.
Interesting. Although that fall onto the boat was always pretty cool to me. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, that's a tough fall.
That's a tough fall. Even landing in a boat that looks like it would really hurt.
I'm not a Scream mega fan, by the way.
Oh, okay, I am. Number 3, who is the best killjoy?
Killjoy.
Debbie Downer, so to say. We have Jennifer, who has a dead mom and has heart problems. And then we have Sydney, who has a dead mom and is just down in general.
Actually, I'll go with Jennifer for this one because Max was trying to have some fun. He pulled out his whiskey and she's like, I'm not drinking right now.
Oh, she's such a downer.
And then they're on the carousel and she just hits him with that sad story. Yeah, she was a downer the whole movie.
She was a downer. So you liked her as a downer more than Sydney as a downer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know this was turning into like a versus Sydney versus Jennifer.
I said Jennifer versus Sydney.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's the name of the game.
Well, beforehand, I didn't know this. You kind of sprung this up on me.
I did. All right.
All right.
I don't know who I thought was the best killjoy. Jennifer was definitely, this is like a tough kind of a category because Jennifer definitely was more of a downer. But I feel like as far as like likability,
Sydney is more likable for sure.
Sydney's more likable. She was a downer a lot, but she's still funny. Jennifer was never funny.
Jennifer in this movie was not my favorite thing about this movie.
That definitely.
I mean, I do appreciate the character, but I think she was like, I don't know. She was kind of a lame character.
She was super down. Even like Tamara was like, hey, honey, how was school? And Jennifer straight up ignored her. I thought that was so rude. It's like, yeah, I get it. Your mom just died a couple months ago, gauging from those old photos that you were looking at.
Right.
And dad definitely should have waited before bringing in his live-in girlfriend. But she could have at least said hi. I was upset for Tamara. It wasn't Tamara's fault. Jennifer is more of the downer. Next one. Let's see here. Oh, doofiest dad. So we have...
Oh my God.
Jennifer, who brings his live-in girlfriend after, like months after his wife dies.
Yeah.
But then we also have Sydney's dad, who goes out of town like the day after 2 of Sydney's classmates are murdered brutally and the killer's not caught.
Yeah, but I don't ever see him, and I see Jennifer's dad a lot, and he's just a total putz of a dad, so he wins my vote.
Yeah, Jennifer's dad actually is the worst.
Okay, are you trying to prove that Jennifer's the greater character than Sydney Prescott?
No, I don't even know what these points are for. Next one. Let's see here. Oh, worst boyfriend. Max, who cheats on her and then still tries to get with her at the end, or Billy, who kills people?
Oh, Billy for sure. So yeah, okay. Sydney has the worst boyfriend.
Sydney has the worst boyfriend.
Yeah, Max is not a killer psychopath.
Yeah, but he's really annoying.
He is annoying. He's more of a loser, but yeah, but not worse.
All right. And then best one-liner. Jennifer says at the end, take 2 and call me in the morning, and stabs Giggles. Mm-hmm. Sydney, can you guess what she says?
She says, there won't be a sequel.
Oh, she says, not in my movie.
Right, and then she shoots Billy Loomis.
Actually, I forgot about that.
So what's the one-liner you're talking about?
The one I was thinking of was when Stu was trying to kill her, and he was like, oh, is that a thing for you, Sid? And then she gets up and pushes a TV on his head and says, in your dreams. Like
a reference to
Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So In Your Dreams versus Take Two and Call Me in the Morning.
Take Two and Call Me in the Morning.
Oh, you like that one?
Hands down, yeah.
I always liked In Your Dreams.
It's like too subtle. It's like a nice little wink, wink, nod, nod if you already know.
But it's nice and succinct, you know?
Yeah.
In Your Dreams, then shoves a TV on his head. Because I feel like saying...
It's like you would had to have seen Dream Warriors and know about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Not necessarily. Because when I first saw Scream, I didn't really know about that reference. I just liked the way she said it and then shoved the TV on his head. And I thought, oh, he's going to go to sleep, so to say.
Yeah.
Euphemism for dying. And then says In Your Dreams, and he's knocked out and dies, sort of, but not according to the internet. Anyway.
All right. I'm still going to go with Jennifer. I like that. Take Two and Call Me in the Morning.
It's too wordy.
So who wins? Is it Sydney or Jennifer?
So let's see. Overall, Sydney has 5 and Jennifer has 7.
There it is. It is confirmed that Jennifer from Dr. Giggles is a better character than Sydney Prescott.
Is a better final girl than Sydney Prescott. Confirmed.
All right. You heard it here on Gutted Horror Podcast. Confirmed.
But actually, no, I like Sydney better.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Then what was the point of that?
I don't know.
Are you trying to get me to like Jennifer more than Sydney Prescott?
I was just trying to show you the similarities. They both
that is true.
They both have like terrible boyfriends. They both have terrible dads and a terrible home life. But I mean, like overall, they're fine.
Yeah. And they kind of look similar.
They look very similar. They both wear jeans and they both fall.
Well, maybe Wes Craven had seen Dr. Giggles and said, that character, Jennifer...
That's my Sydney.
I could use that.
That's my proto Sydney.
Yeah, exactly. She is the proto Sydney Prescott.
She is. That's all I wanted to point out. I didn't want to say that she was better than Sydney because obviously I'm a fan of Sydney.
Well, you're making me choose, so that automatically tells me better or worse.
No, I just wanted you to see that she is like proto Sydney.
Okay. Yes, I do see it. I do see it now. Okay. And your questions did bring up the similarities that I had a hunch about. Now it's confirmed.
Confirmed they are the same person.
All right. This is our last section of the episode where we deliver our awards.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with the axe this time. So we decided to...
we used to give out the golden gut, but then one of our last episodes, it was the top 10 for 2023 list. We did the golden gut first and the axe last, and we were super bumped out afterward. So now we're going to do the axe first.
Right. So these are our categories. We have the axe. It's for the element or character that you would cut from a film. We have Aleece's surprise category that will probably annoy Tony. I don't know what that is. That's in our notes outline. Or should we just get into it? The axe. Aleece, what element or character would you cut from the film?
Hottie number 2.
Hottie number 2.
AKA Normie.
Normie. Terrible name.
Terrible name, or name her in the movie or get rid of her. But she did not need to be there. There could have been some other device that led Jen to the band room so she could see Max making out and groping Corinne. But we didn't need Normie there. So annoyed by that, but that's it.
I went with the same. I called her the tag-along character, Normie. Why is she there?
Why is she there?
So she needs to get cut because it's there's no point of her being there.
I really liked everything else in the movie, but friend number 2 or hottie number 2, I was just like, why?
So I 100% agree with you on that one.
Okay, good.
I think that was pretty obvious.
Yeah. And if you couldn't guess by now, Tony is very annoyed by things that are sprung up upon him. I do have another.
It's because I don't have time to prepare and it puts me on the spot.
Yeah.
So apparently there's another surprise category that will probably annoy me. So let's hear what it is.
I'm adding this category now. I didn't want to ask him beforehand because he'd be like, no, it's too many categories. So,
but does it stay for future episodes?
I don't know.
All right. What is this category?
The test run of this new category is called the first aid kit.
The first aid kit. Okay.
Yeah. So what character that was offed would you bring back?
Isn't that a lot like the second kidney? What character, living or dead, would you have come back in a sequel or spinoff?
No, second kidney is which one would you put in a sequel? This is which one would you not have killed in the movie at all?
Okay. The first aid kit.
Yeah.
So it is very similar to our second kidney award.
It's completely different than the second kidney award.
Okay.
It just means that you make them not die.
Only for the dead characters. Who would I have come back? I think, let's see.
There are a lot of people that died in this movie. You have a lot to choose from.
There are. I am going to go with Officer Wrights. I was like, I can't remember his name, but yeah, because he was so valiant in his efforts to save Jen and Max.
And he almost lived too.
Yeah.
He just got gutted at the last second and then blown up in the house.
He did end up being the most reasonable character and one of the most likable characters.
Yeah.
He was like a voice of reason. And then I thought it was unfair that he died.
Yeah, totally unfair. Well, my first aid kit goes to Lee, and not just because I'm bitter that she didn't come back in the end for my 5th prediction, but because I actually liked where her character was going in the beginning, and I feel like she was killed too soon. I wanted more development for her character. I liked that actor. I thought she did a great job, which is like, this is stupid, you guys. I'm out of here.
Right.
And she gets locked in that room with Trotter.
Yeah. I mean, this was the early 90s, so, these certain things did happen where the black characters would die first. If Dr. Giggles were remade today, then I think she would probably survive.
She would have been given more screen time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I liked that actress. I thought she did a good job.
And that actress didn't do anything else after this movie.
Didn't.
She did like absolutely nothing.
She's like, this was a bad experience for me.
They just killed off my character. I'm out. Peace.
Out of here.
That was the first aid kit.
Yeah.
A new category.
New category. I think it's very apt that the first aid kit comes after the axe. So we get rid of something and then we bring something back.
Right. The next award is for the best intestines, the best, saddest, or most gut-wrenching death.
My best intestines go to Tamra. She was one of my favorite characters. She was so over the top and unreasonable. And when her new boyfriend went off to go find his daughter because she has heart problems and she's sad, she was totally unreasonable, sobbing, eating a gallon of ice cream that's half melted anyway. And I'm like, first of all, check out your freezer. You need to up that temperature.
No, you need to lower the temperature.
You need to lower that temperature. Also, put something on your ice cream. But no, she ate a gallon. Why? Out of spite?
I do like the fact that she ate a gallon of vanilla ice cream. I love just plain vanilla ice cream.
I don't get it. I'm like, put some hot fudge on it, put whipped cream at the least. But no, she ate plain, melty vanilla ice cream.
I don't agree with the melty.
She ate it like soup. She's sobbing the whole time. I'm like, I'd be crying too if I had to eat that.
That scene was ridiculous.
So funny, but I loved her. She got my best death scene.
She also got my best intestine award. The stomach pump and the ice cream and blood was just so ridiculous.
It was so good. Oh man. And
I don't know if I'd call it good. It was ridiculous.
It was so
It made me
good.
laugh. And for that reason, I gave it the best intestines.
And like just visually watching like that creamy vanilla turn into like hot pink blood.
Right. I think there were like little knives in the tube.
In the stomach pump for some reason.
When Dr. Giggles turned on the turbo mode, then it just sliced up her intestines.
Sliced up her
How does he
stomach.
fit all that stuff in his bag?
He's Mary Poppins. He's Scary Poppins.
Scary Poppins.
Yep. Also, that actress that plays Tamra, she was in an episode of Tales from the Crypt that I had seen as a kid that really scared me. Mm-hmm. And it's the one where she is married to a lumberjack and she cheats on him. Somehow she ends up in a tree trunk and she gets sawed in half.
Whoa.
And it was so scary to me as a kid. So when I saw her and I was like, that's the lady in Tales from the Crypt that I saw as a kid.
I recognize her as well, but I don't know exactly what I recognize her from.
I think she played the hottie that you're not supposed to like very much.
Right. We have our second kidney award. So
different than the first aid kit.
Different, yes. So this one is more about the sequel or the spinoff.
Which character would you bring back in a sequel or spinoff?
I would bring back Erica.
Erica the poodle.
We last see Erica bolting out of the doggy door after her owner has died. So I'm like, where did she go?
What happened to Erica?
Will she become Puppy Giggles after witnessing her owner's death? She goes insane. She finds
Giggles.
Dr. Giggles' handbag and then she grabs it in her mouth and like walks off. And
what would a puppy giggle even sound like?
And be like, in the 90s, there was such success with animal movies like Air Bud, Dunstan Checks In, Monkey Trouble. We could totally have
Erica
an early
Giggles.
90s spinoff of, of Poodle Giggles.
Poodle Giggles.
Yeah.
That rolls off the tongue.
Puppy Giggles.
Puppy Giggles. Sounds good.
The sequel to Dr. Giggles. That's what I'm going with.
That's not bad. That's a lot better than my idea. I said Dr. Giggles.
Dr. Giggles.
Because I really want to see him in maybe like an origin story or a prequel. How does he get these weapons? Highly customized medical tools.
Maybe at some point in his career, he ends up meeting John Kramer and teaches John Kramer how to fabricate your own tools and traps.
Because they do both really like puns. And John Kramer likes them in a more serious Shakespearean kind of a way. Whereas Dr. Giggles likes them in more of like a Benny Hill kind of a way.
Right.
Or like a Three Stooges kind of a way.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they are very similar.
Maybe a little Dr. Giggles Saw
Spin-off. That would
crossover.
Be nice.
That'd be cool.
I would love a Giggles.
The 90s were also really big on crossovers. I remember distinctly when Family Matters crossed over with Step by Step. It was one of the most important moment of the 90s for me.
Do you remember when Buffy crossed over with Angel? It was so dramatic. I love that episode. I still remember it. I felt like really like sad afterwards.
That's what I'm saying. We need a Saw Dr. Giggles crossover.
Yeah. Now there are too many crossover movies. All the Marvel movies crossover with one another. That's too much.
But those are all within the universe. So
That's
we
what I'm
have
saying.
Alien versus Predator, Freddy versus Jason.
There's so much crossover now that it's hard to keep track of everything. Back in the 90s, it was very simple. It was like 2 things crossing over. But now it's like you have like 20 things crossing over.
Yeah, I just don't count the Marvel movies.
Well, The Conjuring, you have again like
That's
10
true.
things crossing over.
Well, it's kind of the same for
Too
me.
much. 2 things crossing over. That's my max.
All right. Next, we have the Silver Spleen Award, which is the award for the second best element of the film.
Because there were a lot of good moments, I just gave it to Manny Coto, the director.
Manny Coto. All right.
Yeah.
So that's good overall.
That's kind of what I do when like overall, I thought everything was really good. I give it to the director because I feel like the director usually has a hand in a little bit of everything. And like if everything came together really well, with the exception of Hottie number 2, Manny Coto.
If Hottie number 2 were not in Dr. Giggles, we would be talking Oscar nominations.
Yeah, he might have gotten the Golden Gut, but because he had Hottie number 2, it wasn't flawless, but overall really good. So Manny Coto.
I gave my Silver Spleen Award to the self-surgery scene, which I thought was really clever and funny.
Yeah.
Dr. Giggles handing himself the scalpel and also like announcing, as a surgeon does, scalpel, forceps, time to sew him up. Like, I thought that was pretty funny.
And our last award, we have the Golden Gut. What gets your number 1 element, person, character, whatever of this film?
I mean, for me, that was pretty easy. It's going to go to Larry Drake as Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
I put Larry Drake and his giggle because the giggle is something that you will always remember from this film. That giggle is something that is going to stick in my memory.
My Golden Gut is, and this is what I have written here, it says, Larry Drake as Dr. Giggles performing surgery on himself.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of like a mashup of your second or your Silver Spleen and your Golden Gut.
Maybe that's the scene that kind of encompasses who Dr. Giggles is for you.
Because it is Larry Drake's performance as Dr. Giggles doing surgery on himself and giggling and having a variety of giggles. Because who knew you could giggle in so many different ways and emote so many different emotions? Because he was like giggling and he's like, that's smarts. What a weirdo. I just love that scene so much.
All right.
I love Larry Drake and his giggle. It's really good.
He will forever be remembered as Dr. Giggles.
Yeah. Just looking at the poster really fast, what merch, if any, would you buy of this image?
I would definitely have a poster of this. And if I had seen a Dr. Giggles mask during the COVID era, I would have gotten that as well.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And then I could imagine myself as Dr. Giggles, but I hadn't seen it at that point.
No.
But this is a great poster with the menacing eyes and the scalpel that is formed out of the R. This is a solid poster for me. When I was a kid, I'd walk into Blockbuster and think like, I want to see that. Although I never did.
Yeah. Poster for sure. T-shirt. Definitely now. I'd love a t-shirt of Dr. Giggles.
Yeah, good job, poster. The poster is a classic, in my opinion. The overall blockbuster rating. Aleece, is this movie for you a staff pick? Is it a main shelf bargain bin, or is it a back alley dumpster film?
This one is definitely a staff pick now.
A staff pick.
Yeah, if we had like Medical Week, top 5 staff pick medical movies, this one's going up there.
I'd give it a staff pick of early 90s horror for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be like in my top 10 of movies from the 90s that came out before Scream. However, I probably main shelf it for my regular horror collection.
Yeah.
Definitely a fun movie to watch if you're having like a horror movie party and, you know, hanging out with friends and you want to just kind of like laugh at a funny slasher movie, but enjoyable to watch on your own.
Yeah. Not boring.
Not boring.
It's a good little flick.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Dr. Giggles, you should check it out.
Yeah.
It is a classic early 90s slasher. Is it worth watching? Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely worth watching. Tony, what is your concluding thought, tagline, or lesson that you've learned from Dr. Giggles?
The one thing that I learned from Dr. Giggles is that laughing is funny.
Would you say that laughter is the best medicine?
Yes, laughter is the best medicine.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Giggles.
Yes, that's what we learned.
That's what we learned.
Yeah.
That about does it for this episode.
Please like, subscribe, follow, or give us a rating, or you can send us an email at guttedhorrorpodcast@gmail.com.
Check out our Patreon page. We are still kind of adding content to that. We only have a couple of episodes.
Yeah, still working on it.
But as we get more patrons, we will add some more stuff to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching and or listening. This has been another episode of Gutted.